Okay, we are going to talk about your college resumes for today. So, for this week, remember for your college application project, you're submitting two things. It's your letters of recommendation log as well as then your college resume. And it's actually Friday before the week is starting. I'm going to be going over this stuff with you. But I just kind of wanted to explain the purpose behind the college resume and then also a couple formatting ideas and whatnot that you can take a look at. So, before actually getting into the formatting of the essay, I'm going to go over here to Google Classroom, and you can see that this still has last week information on here with the remote learning folder, but all of this information is going into our current folder for this week as well. And I already have the information here for some things with the college resume resources, which you may have looked at. So just give you a quick overview. I have a couple websites here that are listed. One, which is coming here from Princeton Review, gives you an overview of like how to write a high school resume going into college and what should go on it and what do you need. And certainly the template's going to kind of take care of that. I know a lot of times when you think of a resume, you kind of think of professional or college graduate looking now for first job. Where this resume is going to be going isn't necessarily just to the schools, but it could be going to individuals that you could be having college interviews with. So if you have a representative from a specific school, this might be something to give that person to. And then also you could be giving this to the people who are going to be writing you letters of recommendation, which I'll be getting into here in a little bit. But just a general website from the Princeton Review giving you a rundown of some details and whatnot that you could use for college resume. Here's a link that was to University of Maryland, and it's just kind of showing some sample things that could be going into a resume. So that's something that you could certainly take a look at. This page has some templates that you could also use if you want. So you have a variety of templates here. For all of them, once you open up the template, it's going to take you to a Google Doc, and then from there, it's not editable, but from there you could certainly add it into your own drive. So you would just simply go to File. You could then make a copy or download, and then you could download this into Microsoft Word. Or you could also make a copy and then you could put this into your Google Drive. Either way, if you want to use this, you certainly can. I have some templates that are also posted to Google Classroom that you can certainly use. But you can take a look at the different templates. You might like, a font of one or the positioning of the text for another and things of that nature. So just gives you an idea of different ways that you can set it up. For your resume, and then there's also a quick little a 4-minute YouTube video of explaining for some things as to how tips for writing a college resume, coming from a person who recently would have just written one. So it's nice to have one from that perspective. For this assignment, I want you to understand that you are not being graded on like the precise format that you use. I don't have a particular preference as to which format of your resume you have. I'll have these two templates, and so this one you can see here is pretty generic, where you would just simply put in your name, and then up at the top here I have one that is a little bit more of a sample resume that a person would have, and you could obviously go in and change that information as well. But I'll have both of these posted where they are editable so that you can certainly put in your own name. If you want to use either one of these two templates, perfectly fine. If you decide that you would rather switch to one of those other templates, I'm okay with that. The main thing is just to make sure that you have this information, present on your resume, regardless of which one you go with, in the sense that you do have, up here at the top, all of your personal information so far as your name, email address, and all of those things. Certainly have an overview of your education, your work experience and or volunteer experience, skills and capabilities, and then honors and activities. So those are the main criteria that I'm going to be looking for. So I do want that information certainly to be posted there. But if you want to change some things with font and whatnot, that's okay. Up at the top, you have this information here for date needed in schools. Now, certainly this won't be needed if you were to give a resume to a representative from a local college or university that you're having an interview with, but this would be something that is going to be very useful that would be going to a person who's going to be writing a letter of recommendation for you. So if I go to my other example, that I have filled out here for Jackie Schmo. Up at the top, the person that she's giving this to will know that she needs this letter of recommendation by October the 2nd, and that the schools that she's looking at would be for Duquesne and then also here for Common App. So if this person were writing her letters of recommendation, she would know that she would need a letter specifically to Duquesne University, but then also that this person would just be writing a general letter that would not mention any specific schools, and it's going for the Common App. So if all of your schools were going to be on the Common App, you would essentially then cross out, or not include a school like Duquesne on here. You could put Common App, and then the person who is writing your letters of recommendation knows that he or she does not have to include any specific schools. If you simply just wanted a recommendation letter only for Duquesne, then you would just have Duquesne listed. It's up to you as to whether or not specific schools would be needed. Honestly, as a recommender, it's nice to do Common App because I know I'm just writing one specific essay. However, some schools need separate letters of recommendation because they do not use the Common App or Coalition. Or if you were writing to a person, say we're doing Duquesne in this instance, that I'm writing to a person, or I'm going to have a person recommend me who went to Duquesne, it could mean a lot for that person to be able to include that as a graduate of Duquesne, so and so would be an ideal candidate to join the university or whatnot. So if you were writing one specifically for Slippery Rock, I would like to know that it were going to Slippery Rock, and then I would be able to mention, alumni and all that kind of stuff. But having this date needed information up here at the top is certainly very helpful, especially if a person is getting multiple letters of requests for letters of recommendation, and then he or she can kind of keep these things organized. I do realize that the CRC does have a sheet in which you're able to include this information and whatnot, a general form to fill out. Honestly, I think this is a little bit more professional. I think this kind of speaks a little more volumes as to how serious you are about looking at your college application. And I just think it's a more finished product than what would be available down there. Okay, so just running through the things that are on here, and I know most of them are self-explanatory, but just to make sure we're all on the same page, you have your name, you have phone number, email address, your address. This is obviously the school address. So you would be putting your personal address. For most people, when it comes to education, it's going to be pretty much the same, where you're going to have North Hills High School, and then included these things on here where we got career pathway, favorite courses, advanced courses. Not that the person writing a letter of recommendation is going to be mentioning all of this stuff, but it is certainly good background information to have about you as to how, your career pathway, your intended major could fit in with some of the courses that you took or whatnot. So I think it's good information to have. Also, with the SAT, ACT, which, this year some of you will not have information probably listed for that because of the situation that we're under in GPA. If I can have national exam data to back up how I think you did in the course, that's nice information to have. So if I had a student who was getting A's every semester and their SAT score is lower than one would expect, I'd be able to certainly highlight that the work that this person did in the classroom, is much more indicative of his or her potential than the SAT score. But if the SAT score, the ACT score, AP exam scores, correlate with how well a student was doing in the class, then I can go, the successes of this student have been validated in both my classroom and on national exams. So it's nice just to have that information. Not that the person writing the letter of recommendation is going to regurgitate all of it, but it's nice to see what those kind of vital statistics are and how it could match up with your personal letter of recommendation. Work or volunteer experience listed here. Certainly go with things that are recent. Now, for both of these examples, I have something that would be present that is still currently going on. That might not always be the case, but keep things very recent. I wouldn't put in information about you being a volunteer back in 8th grade, or maybe even 9th grade, depending upon what it was. But make sure you're going with valuable work experience that is currently going on that is worthwhile to be mentioned. And, just kind of like a quick overview of what those details would be is the main thing here that we're looking for. All right. After your work volunteer experience, now we're taking a look at skills. And when it comes to skills, and this is even mentioned in the general example down here, list hard and or soft skills. When it comes to something that is going to be considered a soft skill is going to be more of like a general trait, okay? So you would be able to list what are some traits or characteristics. that you have, if I can fit the word characteristics, that would be worthwhile. Okay. A hard skill is going to be something that is more of like a teachable skill or a learned skill. So, if you are someone who is going into computer programming, you could have specific skills when it comes to programming. Depending upon what you have learned, within some other courses, there could be some skills when it comes to specific software or when it comes to programs, interfaces, and things like that with jobs that you might be looking at. So, for the most part, these probably tend to be a little bit more natural, and then you would have some hard skills that you might be able to include. Now, in the sample that I have provided for you, problem solving, leadership, hardworking, critical thinking, punctual, motivated, quick learner, these are all going to be considered soft skills because there's not a specific skill or ability that is being included. If you have hard skills, that are going to be worthwhile, you definitely would want to include them. If at this point all that you have are soft skills, that's the way that it is. You might not have some experience, but if you have heavy experience working within a retail or whatnot, there might be some specific programs that you are used to being able to use or whatnot. So whether it be something with programming, whether it be some kind of app usage, some kind of applications, spreadsheets, even if you're going into financial career pathway, identifying that you have specific skill set when it comes to, Excel spreadsheets and things of that nature could be valuable for you to certainly include. My expectation would be that probably most of you are going to be predominantly soft skills. Notice with this one here, because 7 skills are listed, went into 2 columns, so it does give you a way to kind of manipulate the page a little bit because ideally you do want your resume to fit onto one page. And then this last part here that we have for awards and honors and awards, again, kind of like going on with the work experience, make sure you keep it to senior high. Don't include awards coming from middle school or the fact that you won the Foursquare tournament in 5th grade or anything along those lines. But what would be some things that certainly have been going on? This would be the opportunity for you to include certainly academic awards. This could be things that are athletic, extracurricular. If there are service projects that you have been involved in, this would certainly be something to include. And again, this is nice to have for the person who's going to be writing the letters of recommendation because they get to see how you are involved within the community, within the school. So I can certainly include things about a person being not only a well rounded student, but a well rounded person if I know there are activities that are involved within the community. So you could be taking a look at things that could be happening, as I mentioned, within the community itself. There might be some things that are going to be tied into, churches or other religious institutions. If you are involved with Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, those of you that are in National Honor Society, this would be something that could all get listed within here. What are these awards and honors and things that you have? Again, not because the person writing your letter of recommendation is going to go into detail, but it's simply good information to certainly have when it comes to trying to encompass who you are as an individual. All right. So, resume, pretty much a 1-page snapshot of who you are. You filling out either this template that you have or this one down here at the bottom, perfectly acceptable. I would be okay with that. If you want to deviate from this template and use something else, that is okay, but just make sure the information that is listed on this template and the second one is included. But if you want to manipulate the way that it is set up, that is certainly okay for you to do. For volunteer work experience, there are 2 that are listed on each one. Again, this is going to vary. You might only have 1 or 2 just might have 1 volunteer work experience. If you were to have like 3 or whatnot, that's where things could get a little complicated when it comes to filling out also the skills and capabilities, honors, and activities. So if you have issue fitting all of this stuff on 1 page, certainly touch base with me, and we can certainly try to work something out where we can all make it fit onto 1 page, because ideally would like this to be a resume that you're going to be able to use not only for this assignment, but also for future times that you would need it. All right. But do make sure that you include this information up here at the top: the date needed, the schools. Doesn't mean that you're going to have it filled out, but make sure this is present on your template. If you go with either of the two templates that I'm providing for you, it will be there. If you are using someone else's template or creating your own from scratch, just make sure that you add this information to it. All right. Any questions? Let me know. But good luck with your resumes, and looking forward to see what you're able to come up with. Have a good one.